Coming up this morning on the Dattitude Podcast, Sunday for the Saints was a case of good news and horrendous news. The good news is the Saints won. Yippee. The horrendous news is that Derek Carr likely is out for the season after breaking his non-throwing hand on a play where he's busting his ass, diving to get a first down late in the 14-11 win over the New York Giants. Why? Because he's Derek Carr. That's what he does. Can't wait to hear from the numbskulls who are happy it happened so I can blast them back to Dummyville. We're also talking Tulane and LSU in bowl games. John Summerall is staying with the wave, even though his quarterback likely is leaving. There's the CFP playoffs. Dare I say they got it right? Monday with Gabe will expose that, or we'll talk about it anyway. So stick around. It should be a very interesting and jam-packed Mano-y Monday. What you got for me this morning? You better bring receipts because we do not accept returns without them. Let's get to it.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? What a crazy Sunday, and it's being followed by some nastiness outside. I hope y'all are staying high and dry. I see it's even nastier in the city than it is here in the North Shore, and it's pretty bad. So anyway, my thoughts go out to the Dattitude family, those especially who are here locally in New Orleans. We had so much going on yesterday. There was an entire day chock full. We had a week's full of news basically in the course of, I don't know, less than 24 hours for sure. We're going to try to get to it all. I won't even talk about the Pelicans losing. That's for another show because they always lose. What are they, 5-19 now? Something along those lines. We'll worry about them later. Let's see if we can cram everything into Dattitude, episode number 320 for a Monday, December the 9th, 2024, presented by Evangeline Securities. I am your host, Jim Derry. Yep, the same Jim Derry for the first time ever. And I'm not just talking about on this show, on Bayou Bets. I'm talking about going back through the history of time with my NFL column for the first time ever. 0-5 in my best bets. That's what kind of weekend it was. 0-5 in my best bets. The good news is the wife is back from her work trip in Mexico. The little one is feeling much better. She's been sick for about 6 to 7 days. She's much better. I did hit a five-team money line parlay. Overall, it was a rough weekend. I have you here with me this morning, a bunch of you here. Gabe is not in the green room net right now. He's got something going on, but he will be with us later. Gabe and I are going to talk about the college football playoffs towards the end of the show. We're going to start and end. Well, I said we're going to start and end with the Saints. I actually have some other things I want to talk about real quick before the Saints. But I do want to get to the comments. Gary, you were first this morning. Saints game was painful to watch. Oh, we're going to get into that. The Greenies were run over by Army. Hence, John Summerall isn't going anywhere. So, I mean, if there's any good news for Tulane fans after the loss to Army, and not just the loss, an ass whipping, was that I think that game, if there was any doubt that John Summerall was thinking about leaving, he ain't thinking about leaving anymore. Charles says, good morning. And good morning to the Dattitude family. It's a pricey victory. He believes there's only one more win for the season. Where is it? I don't know if there's another win. Not without Derek Carr. We'll get to that in a bit. Victory Monday, says Jerry. A win is a win. It most certainly is. Good morning, Derry Nation. No, you're the Dattitude family. It's not just me. We're going to get to the $765 million. That's all part of the show. If you don't know what Uncle Big Nick's talking about, we're going to get to it in a minute. Charles is glad Alabama's not in. We'll talk about that. Telling you, we're going to get to all this stuff. Mark Satanovich, Mensa transfer portal, question mark. I don't think there's any question mark. He's already said that he's in the question mark. And do you have a logo with Spencer Rattler as your icon? Dude. Oh, you're going to love my monologue then. Really? It is mind-boggling. Absolutely, incredibly, inanely mind-boggling that anyone is just still a Spencer Rattler. There's still Spencer Rattler lovers out there. I think they may go away soon. We'll find out more about that. Dylan Smith, ugly, ugly game, but Saints win and who cares about the Falcons anymore? Saints win and Falcons lose. It was a good Sunday. I mean, what do you consider a good Sunday? You lost your starting quarterback for the rest of the season, and now I don't know if this team can win without him. I got to be honest. I said before they can't win without Eric McCoy and or Derek Carr. Again, we'll get to that in a minute. Rocky, Monday. You can't trust that day. Douglas Thornton, good morning, brother. Yes, Saints won. A win is a win. They struggled hard. I can't wait to see what y'all think about Derry's dime today. Oh, here, Mark followed it up. Spencer Rattler, I sure hope not. I mean, what else do you need to see from a dude that started 3 games? I mean, we're going to get into this. I mean, I didn't think we're going to get into it this early. It's part of my dime. Dime's coming up. I got some other things to talk about this morning. Again, we're going to have plenty of Saints. Maybe not as we normally have, because normally Monday is just Saints, but we are going to have other things today, because there's some things I need to talk about this morning. Y'all can't really be rooting for the Rat, can you? I mean, the dude started 3 games. He scored 6 points. Is that really what y'all want? Y'all want to go? I mean, yesterday wasn't bad enough. They scored 14 points against a horrendous football team, a 2-11 Giants team that's probably going to get the first pick of the draft. Y'all are rooting for to be more miserable than you already are. How bad do you want 5-12 to happen? Really? Kyle Sherman, that was one uninspiring win. That's a nice way to put it. That is a nice way to put it. David Dukas, season is over. No Carr, no Hill, no chance. I didn't even talk about Taysom. Taysom was last week. But you're right, David. 100%. Jerry says it's raining cats and dogs in Gulfport. Right before I went on, it stopped raining, but it was pretty bad here. What else we got? We got all kinds of other comments. Good morning, Randall. I can't wait to hear what you have to say this morning. Brian, what will we take in the future for the New Orleans Saints to win a Super Bowl? For the other 31 teams to disband? I mean, something along. If you're talking about the near future, are you talking about like future, like in 2064? Oh, well, they could find a way. Or are you talking about like the immediate future? Here we go. Derek Carr probably played the worst of his career yesterday. That was are you insane? Really? And I mean that as nicely as possible. Are you insane? You think Derek Carr played miserably? He was 20 of 31 for 219 yards with a touchdown and interception. That's not great by any means. I'm not saying it's great. When will you people realize? When will you Carr haters realize what you have in the you're never gonna give him credit, okay? Then whoever the next quarterback is, you'll just bash on him because he's not Drew Brees either. Whoever it is, God forbid, I'm gonna say prayers for whoever the next quarterback is because he ain't Drew Brees. What is wrong with you people? Seriously. Rob, fan guy. And the Rattler stains will be coming out of the woodwork. Yes, they will be. Jason says, Rattler going to save the season. Thank God, Rattler. Mike Prima. Be positive, people. How? Jeff, I was right about Tampa winning the South. Well, I was right the second time. I mean, I'm transparent. I ain't lying to nobody. I originally said Atlanta was going to win the division. So I was right that I thought Tampa would storm back. But I've been Atlanta most of the way, so I'm not going to try to take any credit for anything. Brisset should be all pro. He's better, but he ain't that good. Randall said, here's one you're right about. Rizzy probably blew any shot he had at the job yesterday. He didn't probably. Ovide, we can only hope that we will see what Hainer has. We can only hope that they go with Hainer and not go with Rattler. We've already seen that Rattler stinks. Okay. I don't need to see any more of that. I'm pretty sure Hainer stinks too, but at least I want to see it. All right. I'm going to come back to, I promise, I'm going to come back to comments in a little bit. And if you haven't figured it out already, this is Mano-y Monday. What we do on Mano-y Monday, I know it's supposed to be Mano-y Monday. I get it. We named this show Mano-y Monday. We're sticking with it on Monday. What is today? If you're new to the show, today is me giving you my thoughts on what happened on Sunday. The rest of the show pretty much is you and I talking to one another. Okay? So that's what we hope. That's what we hope we'll be doing. Well, that is what we're going to be doing today. And again, Gabe will be in later on. If you want to be a part of the show, whether it's show number 320 for you or number 1, all you got to do is type your comments in on YouTube or Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, give us a like. I don't know why it helps. They say it does. And if you haven't already done so, if you want more of this in your life, if you need more attitude in your life, attitude with a D in front of it, then you want to subscribe to our YouTube page. You'll always know when we go on the air live Monday through Friday, except for Tuesday, live at 11 a.m. Central Time. You can always find us after the fact. You know that already. You can get in touch with me on X at Jim Derry Jr. or via email, jderry@theadvocate.com. I got what is it? Email. That's what it is. You know, that thing you get them on your phone, whatever. Don Hoffman. Rizzy was very lucky. There you go. See, I will mention your comment even if it's just via email. Don Hoffman is a regular. I think Don listens to us after the fact on one of the podcast platforms. By the way, if you don't know that either, you might want to subscribe to us, wherever you get your podcasts. We're there as well. All right, before we get to Saints news, I got some other, and look, I know we got tons of comments here. I apologize if I don't get to them all. Jason, the D-line has a decent game. Absolutely did. Mike Baird, stop protecting Carr. You're not listening, are you? He's not the answer. You're not listening, are you? Did I say he's the answer? No. Can't even stay healthy to be a bridge. You know why he can't stay healthy to be a bridge? You know, have you figured out, have you watched enough football to figure out why Derek Carr can't stay healthy enough to be a bridge? He never had trouble with injury before. You know why? Because his offensive line sucks. Have you not figured that out yet? What is wrong with you people? It is mind-boggling. It is truly mind-boggling. That's why this team needs a complete overhaul. It is just one reason that it's proof this team needs a complete overhaul. Again, going to get to it in the dime. It's never been healthy. What planet do you live on? Do you need to go look at his stats and games started in his career? What planet do you live on? You're simply wrong. What did I say in the open? You might not have been here. Bring receipts, because if you're full of shit, I'm going to call you out. Period. He got hurt yesterday, busting his ass for a team that's going nowhere. and a team's fans who don't appreciate what he can do for this team. And you're sitting here calling him out like a bunch of other numbnuts. It's incredibly moronic. It's mind-boggling. I'm not taking this crap anymore from people who don't know what the hell they're talking about. Are you entitled to your opinion? Of course you are. Of course you're entitled to your opinion, but back it up. Don't just tell me something because that's what other people are saying or you don't think he's Drew Brees. Nobody's Drew Brees. Nobody is Drew Brees. Drew Brees is gone. He's never, ever coming back. I don't know what else you need. I don't know what else you need. I mean, think of the quarterbacks this team has gone through since Drew Brees left. They finally had stability there. They don't have stability now because Carr got hurt the second time this year. Why did he get hurt? Because the administration that runs this football team has not rebuilt in the trenches. They keep letting it go, and they keep letting it go. Kendall Mitchell. Everybody keeps telling him Jameis is better than Carr. Tell you what, you've been watching Jameis. Jameis is more entertaining than Carr, but Jameis is probably more entertaining than just about any quarterback in the NFL because Jameis will make a throw that most quarterbacks can't make, and then he'll flip a screen pass to the other team for a pick six. You people aren't watching. If you're still hating on Carr, you just don't get it. But you're gonna get it when either Haener or Spencer Rattler start the rest of the season. You're gonna get it, and you're not gonna blame him. Well, you'll blame Haener. But if it's the rat, we won't hear how bad the rat is. Derek Carr busted his ass yesterday. He broke his hand because he was diving for a 4-8 team to be 5-8. How many quarterbacks in the NFL would give that kind of effort for a team that's 4-8? Less than half, I promise you. Less than half. I don't give a damn whether it's smart or not, Larry Gibson. He wasn't thinking about what was smart. He was thinking about what can he do to help his football team win a game. And he dove. And he broke his hand. 13 watches. Oh, you're wrong, buddy. Wherever you're watching, there might be 13 watches. There's way more than that. We get about, 6,000 to 8,000 a show. So again, you come without receipts. You start calling things out. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. See you later, numbnuts. We don't need you. We don't need you. We don't need people like that. If you're going to come out, I don't care. If you think he sucks, great. Bring receipts. Bring receipts. I'm going to come back to the Saints. I'm not going to let this show get derailed by people who don't know what the hell they're talking about. There are things I want to talk about this morning. I got to get to our friends who help bring this show to you. Don't just say stuff to say it. That's what everybody else. It's cool to say Derek Carr sucks. No, it's not. You look like an idiot. You really do. Samuel Turner sending up prayers for Carr. He needs them. Not just because he needs prayers for a broken hand. His hand will heal. I hope he doesn't come back next year for him. I mean, I think he's probably going to. I hope he doesn't come back next year. I hope he goes to a team that can win. Because you know what? If he goes to a decent football team, he's going to win. And I hope he sticks it straight up your keister if you don't like him. You know what? I've told you on this show 1,000 times, never going to root against the Saints. If they are 2-15, well, they're not. Let's say they're 5-8. If they're 5-11 going into the last week of the season against Tampa Bay, I root for them to win. I want them to be 6-11. But if Derek Carr goes to another team and plays against the Saints, I don't know, man. That's going to be a tough one. Rocky says Carr wants to be here and succeed. That's all he does is he wants to succeed. Emily Varner, good morning, Dattitude, and says our fans are so evil to Carr. I just don't get it. It's the same reason why, throughout my career, and one thing you learn as a sports writer is you get emails and correspondence from people and people that comment on stuff. It's different now, I think, because people are more brazen and willing to just say whatever they want because they're not sitting in front of somebody. But in the old days when I would get hate email, when I would respond, and way more politely than I'm doing right now. But when I would respond and they realized there's a person on the other line, on the other side, oh, I didn't mean it, blah, 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 every time. Would you sit in front of Derek Carr and tell him he sucks? No, you wouldn't. Don't say anything that you wouldn't say to him. Like in front of us, say, not standing in the Superdome with 70,000 other people. Why do you think he sucks? It's just mind-boggling. It really is. Again, we're going to come back to the Saints. I got so much to talk about today. We're not going to spend the entire hour and 10 minutes or however long we're on the air talking about the Saints. I'm coming back to them. I got my dime still to come after we talk about Evangeline Securities. But I want to talk about real quickly. You see notable bowl games on the screen. LSU going to play Baylor in the Texas Bowl on New Year's Eve. Gasparilla Bowl, Tulane in Florida. Tulane in Florida. All you people who said Tulane could beat LSU are going to find out what Tulane's made of against Florida. That is an interesting matchup. It really is. Super interesting. John Summerall says he's staying at Tulane. They will have to play that bowl game without Darian Mensah, who's announced he's entering the transfer portal. I'm going to tell you like it is. I am all about players bettering themselves. If you think it's better for you to enter the transfer portal, by all means do it. Plenty of there are LSU players that have done it already. Excuse me. However, I have a problem with this one. Again, you can do whatever you want. I'm not going to blast you for it. And I'm not saying I get it, but no one's loyal to anyone anymore. You can't say no one. This dude was a third-string quarterback, came in a camp. No one ever heard of Darian Mensah. He came into Tulane and basically, okay, he earned the starting spot. Absolutely earned the starting spot. But John Summerall went out on a limb because if you go back to August and you're like, man, he's really going to give this kid a chance. There were two other quarterbacks there ready to start. It was a two-horse race. And this third horse came out of nowhere and inserted himself in it and won the job. But John Summerall gave him the chance to do that. Now you're going to leave? You have a chance next year if you stay. I mean, even if you don't stay, I think Tulane has a legitimate chance next year to be much better and be the Boise State next year and make the playoffs. And Mensah shoots him the bird? That's not cool to me. Again, you could do whatever you want. Not telling you don't have the right to do it. I just don't think it was cool. I mean, Chris Roth, Tulane quarterback, gets his ass kicked last 2 weeks and he runs away. I mean, my guess is he would have done it anyway. I don't think that's the reason. I don't know. I just think it's not cool. Again, you have the right to do whatever you want. If that's what you want. If you think it's better for you to go into the transfer portal, then go into the transfer portal. I just think it's kind of crappy. I mean, you're a redshirt freshman. So if you stay at Tulane next year and you better yourself again, and then you feel like this is not the program for you, at least you gave them a 2-year shot. Okay? Like they gave you a shot. I would have been just as critical about John Summerall had he come to Tulane and left after a year. I may be critical if he leaves after next year. I don't know. We'll see. And I get, look, NCAA not loyal to anybody, schools for the most part, and lots of spots, they aren't loyal. I get all that. But this was just a situation to me where you had a chance to come back and like bring this school to the next level. I mean, it doesn't hurt my feelings. I mean, I wouldn't call myself a Tulane fan. I hope they win. It's better for all of us if Tulane wins. It's not like when I was a kid and LSU and Tulane played every year, and I'd take joy when now sometimes I do every now and then I'll snicker. For the most part, I'm rooting for Tulane. But I did snicker a little bit when all the fans were coming out of the woodwork saying Tulane would beat LSU. We know how silly that was. No one realistically thinks that anymore. So we'll see. Tulane Gasparilla Bowl versus Florida. That is on a Friday, December the 20th. So that is a week from Friday. Interesting. Already. The bowl games will be coming up real quick. And then LSU versus Baylor in the Texas Bowl on New Year's Eve. LSU's got its issues. They're going to lose players to the transfer portal. Will Nussmeier stay? I saw someone ask that question earlier. Maybe. Charles says that Darian Mentz is not that great of a quarterback. You know what? I'm not going to bash him. I think he was pretty good. I think he was the best quarterback in the American Athletic Conference, and I get it's the AAC. I'm not going to bash the dude for his talent just because he's leaving. I don't play those kinds of games. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not going to say, "Oh, you left, screw you, you stink." Nah, I don't play that. If I thought you were good and you did something I don't like, doesn't mean I don't think you're not good. I don't like what you did. That doesn't mean you're not a good player, because he is a good player. Do I think he can be successful at a D1 school somewhere else? Absolutely. I hope he gets a chance. I mean, I'm not rooting against the kid because he's going to do something. He's a kid. 20 years old or 21, whatever he is. He's a kid. I'm not going to root against the kid. I hope he does well wherever he goes. I'm just saying I think it's a crappy thing to do. Okay. And again, LSU Baylor in the Texas Bowl, that is on New Year's Eve. The Dave Aranda Bowl. Remember when everybody wanted Dave Aranda to be the LSU head coach? Yeah. Woo. I get Baylor is maybe better this year than they were last year, but I don't know. I have not looked at any lines, and even though LSU is losing some players, I still got to think LSU is going to be a favorite in that game. We'll see. Again, Gabe just entered the green room later on. After we get through the dime and talk a little bit more about the Saints, and we'll see if it gets as hot. Let's see if you numbnuts without receipts come back, and we lost one numbnuts already. He took whatever receipts he didn't have and left. He's gone. He gone. Whatever his name was. Don't come here. At least Randall, I got to give Randall credit. Randall, I'm giving you credit right here in front of everybody. You stick around, and usually at least you back up your opinions with here's the way I think what I think. I don't necessarily, and that's why you don't have to agree with me. Randall doesn't agree with me. He hates Derek Carr. But at least he gives me reasons why he doesn't like Derek Carr. Don't just come here and say Derek Carr sucks. Just saying. Douglas, you usually come with the receipts. We don't always agree. You give him credit for yards, passer ratings, but the most important stats are wins and losses, and he's 14-13 as a Saint. That's may or may not be right. That's about right, probably. That's what stands out to me, and that's not great. And I hear you. That is why people have a problem with Derek Carr. But you got to realize, again, I still haven't got to the dime yet. Again, if you don't fix the underlying problems, it doesn't matter who you could go make the deal of the century for Patrick Mahomes. God can't fix this team if you don't want to fix yourself. And the Saints haven't wanted to fix themselves. One more topic here this morning before, again, Gabe and I are going to get to the college football playoffs and our rankings in a little bit. So I don't want to talk too much about that. I will say this, something I don't know that I've ever said. I think they got it. Not only do I think they got it right, I think they got the rankings right. I think they got everything right. That doesn't happen very often. I know a lot of people pissed off about Alabama not being in there. Look, I have always been one that I say, well, I want the best teams in there. I don't care if 3 SEC teams is enough. Alabama would have been the 4th. Did they deserve to be in before SMU? No. Had Clemson Had SMU beat Clemson, then yes. I think wouldn't have necessarily, I would have put in, I know they weren't getting in, but I would have put in South Carolina. That would have been my change, okay? I would have put in South Carolina instead of Alabama. I know it would have been Alabama, but how about you don't lose to Vanderbilt and Oklahoma? Would SMU lose to Vanderbilt and Oklahoma? I don't think so. Anyway, we'll talk more about that later on. Lastly, before we get to the dime and back to the Saints for a large chunk of this show, how about Juan Soto's absurd, ridiculous contract? Baseball has so many problems. It's almost as if they're trying to lose me. People like me who have loved baseball their entire lives. 15 years, $765 million. I told this to my wife last night. My wife doesn't, I have a wife who really doesn't care much about sports. A little bit here and there. Big stuff. She'll watch the Super Bowl. She cared when the Cubs win the World Series. She would watch for the most part. I mean, Saints have big games. She'll watch that. She'll go to a Saints game. She doesn't like basketball because she hates the squeaky noises. If you can't, you listen to podcasts after the fact. I had to use the air quotes for that one. But when I told her about this, she said, "What? That's insane." I mean, she was interested in this. Baseball's trying to kill them. They're like committing slow. They must be giving themselves low doses of arsenic as they go along. They're slowly killing themselves. 15 years, $765 million of the New York Mets. The Yankees got outbid because they were offering 16 years, $765 million. Oh, no. I want 15 years, 700. Come on, man. The top 5 contracts in Major League Baseball now are worth over $2 billion. That's billion with a B. I don't know where baseball's going, but it ain't going in the right direction. Here you go. About to get to the dime, so I might as well show this. Randall doesn't hate Carr personally, just hates his game on the field. Seems like a great husband and father. Again, I don't have a problem with anyone not liking Derek Carr as a player, but give me reasons why. Give me reasons why. Jason, how are we feeling about Kendra Miller? Oh, we had a show on him Friday and said that, he's not, there is no next Taysom Hill, but we were asking the question Friday. I should have left it in there. We asked the question, who's the next Taysom Hill? And we had a picture of Kendra Miller in what we see in the first quarter when they went on the touchdown drive. They needed a yard. They ran a Taysom play. They ran it with Kendra Miller. Just saying. All right. 34 minutes into the show, not to the dime. Before we get to that dime, let me tell you more about our friends at Evangeline Securities. Yes, they're a company that will help you answer the number one question if you are pondering selling your family-run or privately held business. And that question is, what is my business worth? They don't figure this out with the same analytics used by Darren Rizzi on the fake punt yesterday. No, managing partners Nick Braden and Ron Hemalt, they will work up a complimentary valuation of your company through decades of experience they took from the best business schools in the country, followed by time served in the financial markets of New York City. As I said, they don't need a charter or a flip card to help you get what you need to make an informed decision on whether to proceed. Is this your time to sell? More on this later in the show, but while you're thinking about that, in the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. All right, here we go. Here we go. By the way, we have our clips later today I have 3 clips. They're all of Darren Rizzi. They are on, again, we're going to get to them later on in the show, but the clips on Rizzi are on his comments on Derek Carr, which only 19 seconds worth, very short clip. His exchange, quote unquote, with Mr. Hayball after that punt where he went off on the dude, and it's a part of my dime. And Rizzy on winning the game. By the way, Uncle Big Nick says LSU is a 2-point favorite. The Texas Bowl at Baylor. Gabe says 3. I guess it depends on where you get the line from. Here's my dime. In trying to recap what happened on Sunday in the Meadowlands, I sat for quite a bit of time in front of a waiting computer with a blank template. It was tough to come up with words for what I watched on Sunday. In fact, at times I couldn't watch it. For the first time in many years, I find myself more interested in what was going on elsewhere in the NFL. Was my fantasy team going to finish off the must-win I needed to get into the playoffs and give me a chance to win a third championship in 4 years? Was the train wreck known as the Atlanta Falcons going to continue doing what they do best? Were the Jets going to allow another victory to slip through their hands against division rival Miami? Has anyone heard of not stepping out of bounds when you want the clock to run? Jets? I want to think about that. Anyway. Oh, so many more questions I had while I tried to focus on my job, and that is to watch the New Orleans Saints versus the New York Giants in the worst who cares bowl of the season to date. This game was so atrocious that even the football gods couldn't allow it to go into overtime. And they helped push Brian Brzee into a lane into which he could block a potential game time field goal so this stupid thing would end. One had to ask, if fans from the winning team didn't even care enough to pay attention throughout, who in the hell would? The clear story of this after the fact is not that the Saints won in semi-dramatic fashion. Rather, it's that Houdats, once again, we've already seen it, will witness this team without their quarterback they love to hate, this time most likely for the remainder of the season. Derek Carr proved once again he will give every single ounce of effort he has to help his team win a football game, no matter how insignificant that win might be. However, his haters, again, as we've seen this morning, will give him no credit. And worse, they will now be reminded why Carr is so important to this franchise. But they won't care. They'll forget how they called Spencer Rattler the savior in waiting. Remember that? Spencer Rattler. Can't wait till he starts. And whether Jake Hayner or the beloved Rattler play behind center the remainder of the season, it really doesn't matter. They simply, either one of them, will simply prove once again that the future of quarterback for the New Orleans Saints is anywhere near this roster. Another story much more important than the victory is that Darren Rizzi, a.k.a. Dan Campbell Jr., is nowhere near ready to be a head football coach in the NFL. A poorly designed fake punt at a really questionable time proves he's going to want to be a riverboat gambler. That kind of coach rarely succeeds in this league. And while some may find it refreshing that he went off on the punter for all the world to see, I found it proof positive that he can be wound completely out of control. And for me to say that, well, you get where I'm going. This is just the tip of the iceberg on why I continue to preach about how this franchise needs to be rebuilt from the studs up. There isn't a single position in this field that doesn't need significant upgrades. We have just 1 month to wait and see if the team will begin the rebuilding process in earnest, or whether they will try to use that same dirty, nasty Band-Aid that won't even stick to the skin any longer. If they choose the latter, I can't imagine how many fans they'll have left at this time next year. And that's my dime. I mean, can you imagine? And, I'm serious about the Band-Aid. Can you imagine if they try to put another Band-Aid on this team and kick a can down the road again? Because you got fans that are pissed off and hanging on by a string. We don't all agree on where this team needs to go, which is fine. But if they're in the same boat next year, I can live with 5-8 this time next year if they've made a bunch of changes and they're working to be better in the near future. If they're 5-8 with these same cast of clowns, it's going to be ugly. I don't care who the hell the coach is. Kyle Sherman said, ain't a dime, it's a dollar. Maybe I should change it. Thank you, Rocky, I think. one hell of a dime. Jeff Hassel says spot on. Look, I'm not looking for compliments. I'm really not. I mean, sure, I like compliments as much as the next guy or gal. Just telling you the way that it is. If we're still here next year, I don't care what the record is nearly, I don't want to say insignificant, but the record really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because it's what we see. Next year is going to be an eye test kind of year. I don't think anyone realistically expects this team to be successful when it comes to wins and losses in 2025. But they better not be the same old stinky crap with who knows at coach, who knows on the offensive line, who knows everywhere else. Douglas says, I can't give Carr credit because this Saints record starts with him. He touched the ball every possession. Well, he didn't. He didn't touch the ball every possession. He did yesterday till the end. There have been games where he didn't throw a single touchdown. So what? There have been games where Patrick Mahomes didn't throw a touchdown. I don't know did Patrick Mahomes throw a touchdown yesterday? Last night? He's going to look. I don't think he did. That doesn't mean anything. There are plenty of games where Patrick Mahomes doesn't throw a touchdown pass. By the way, Derek Carr did throw a touchdown pass. He threw a touchdown pass, and he also got a rushing touchdown from Kendra Miller. He threw a touchdown pass to Jawan Johnson. I mean, Michelle Castro Arreglado Neesmith says enough said. Mahomes had 2 games this year without a touchdown. Thank you, Gabe. That doesn't mean anything. That's not the point of where I'm going with this anyway. I'm not even talking about Derek Carr right now. We'll get back to Derek Carr, I promise you. This team this year can't win without Derek Carr. I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about where they need to go in the future. I'm not saying Derek Carr is the future of this franchise. I've already said multiple times he is not. He is a bridge to wherever they're going. I hope wherever he goes next, he's a winner. I hope he realizes that his next stop needs to be with a team that has a top 5 to top 8 offensive line and is already in a position to win. That's where he needs to go. And you could say nobody's going to want him. I say you're wrong. Somebody's going to want him. You think the Dallas Cowboys, when they lost Dak Prescott, wouldn't have loved to have Derek Carr? Randall says, even though the money demands Carr be the quarterback next year, I can't see it. I don't think there's any. I can't say that I don't think there's any. I think there's an 85% chance that Derek Carr is the starting quarterback for this team next year, barring injury, because of the salary cap situation. And because if you do think you can win, he is the best chance. Randall, if you don't think Derek Carr is not going to get $30 million in a year at his next stop, you're out of your mind. Out of your mind. And Corey, you're 100% right. He says Rattler was behind a makeshift line earlier in the year. This is an opportunity to see him behind our starting line. We'll see if we can win with Rattler now. First off, I don't know if it's going to be Rattler. I would rather see Haener. But that being said, if it is Spencer Rattler, you are 100% right. Here's my question to you. Okay? Corey and everyone else that's in Corey's boat that loves Spencer Rattler still. Maybe you're not even saying it, that you love Spencer Rattler still. If you're still a Rattler lover, here's my question to you. Are you going to come out and admit he sucks if the Saints get walloped again because he starts? We're not doing this again, okay? I'll give you credit, okay? I don't care how bad your O-line. He's supposed to be this mobile quarterback that can get away from all this mess. Carr played behind a very similar offensive line and won, okay? Not yesterday. I'm talking about throughout different times in the season. Played behind a similar offensive line and won. So But I'm willing to throw that away. It was his first 3 NFL games. Even though he only scored 6 points, Haener played 1 drive in those same 3 games and scored a touchdown. But my question is, and be realistic, if Spencer Rattler is the starting quarterback, can we say no more excuses? I don't care if he's a rookie. He doesn't have to go light up the world. He doesn't even have to win. He has to look like he has potential to be an NFL quarterback, something that hasn't happened. I haven't seen anything, not one single thing from Spencer Rattler that leads me to believe he can be a starting quarterback down the road. That's all I need to see. Again, I don't need to see a victory. I don't need to see 350 yards. Taysom Mahomes. Just saying. I want y'all to come back. Don't throw this stuff. We got receipts on this show. You throw stuff out, you better come back and back it up. You can't back that up yet. Gabe's right. I mean, you're going to see a huge skill gap between Jaden Daniels and Spencer Rattler if he plays. You're going to see the difference between a first-round pick and a fifth-round pick. I don't want to hear any of that stuff. All you Rattler lovers were talking about how it was the steal of the century. Y'all quiet it up real quick. I know there's still some Rattler lovers out there. Randall says, I think it's way too early to say for sure what either of the young quarterbacks are. I disagree. Again, if you've watched football long enough, okay, again, it's not about a stat. It's not about it. I mean, of course, in the grand scheme of things, it's about wins in the long run. But you can watch a guy, and you don't need a bunch of starts to tell what. You watched Drew Lock yesterday, and I know he's been in the league for a while, so this is a bad example. You think Drew Lock can be a starting quarterback in the NFL? No. Even Sam Darnold, who I give a bunch of grief to, even Sam Darnold, when he stunk, you could see the flashes of brilliance, okay, at times. He was never going to be anything more than average, and I don't want Sam Darnold leading my football team. Sam Darnold also is a very rare case. You don't see guys who get multiple chances like he's gotten and end up being something. But a first-round pick, the first pick of the draft, right, Gabe? Was he the first pick of first, second? Somewhere around there. He was in the top couple. That's why he kept getting multiple chances. Sam Darnold. That's why he kept getting multiple chances. And that's why he's probably on his last chance, but he's making something of it. Corey wants to know, fair question. Very fair question, even though everyone knows I'm not on the Spencer Rattler train. Very fair question. If he has a great game or multiple great games, will I basically admit that he deserves a chance to be the future? I think he deserves a chance to come back and prove himself next year. If he can if he can go out there and play better than I'm thinking he's going to play, and he shows that it thing, then absolutely. He deserves to be able to come back and have a chance of. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything he can do that proves him that he's going to be the future of this team. I mean, he would have to do something super special. And based on what I saw the first 3 games, I would be literally shocked, Corey, if he does that. But if he comes out behind this O-line, you're right, it's a starting offensive line, and proves plays much better than he played last time and shows that he has potential, then yeah. Douglas, he was the number 3. Sam Darnold was the number 3 pick, the 3rd pick of the draft in 2018. Thank you. But that's why Sam Darnold has gotten multiple chances. It is super rare, again, super rare for a player to stink up the joint and then eventually be a serviceable quarterback. Look at Will Levis. I mean, Will Levis, so many people thought Will Levis was going to be this great quarterback. He sucks. Look at Anthony Richardson. I mean, how many? Gabe and I have both told you what we thought about Anthony Richardson and Will Levis. They just happen to be in the same division. Anthony Richardson was never going to be a good quarterback in this league. I know he's young, but he can't. He has no accuracy. Corey, you think a lot of fans wrote him? I don't think a lot of fans wrote him off. I think the Rattler lovers who were Rattler lovers in the beginning are still Rattler lovers. They're just not talking. They got shown that they were wrong. He was underwhelming against the makeshift line with thin receivers. Not a good chance for anyone, especially a rookie. I don't even deny that part of it. However, you still got to score more than 6 points in 3 games, no matter what weapons you got. You're still in the NFL. Patrick, I'm a long way from a heart attack, my friend. Now, with that said, I just jinxed myself, and there's no one around. Someone's going to, if y'all see me like fall off the set, call 911. Somebody will find my address. That's who I am, man. That's who I am. I speak with passion. All right, I want to get to some of these. I want to get to Dan Campbell a little bit. We talked enough about quarterback and backup quarterback because Gabe and I still got to talk about CFP. First of all, let's talk. Even Darren Rizzi can tell you why Derek Carr is so important. I don't need to tell you that. Wait, hold on. Let's remember Jordan looked like trash when he went in for Roger. What? Jordan Love looked like trash. No, he didn't. He played 1 game. I think everybody knew. Every realistic, sane person. And by the way, that 1 game was in the rain and nastiness against the Kansas City Chiefs. Get out of here. No, that doesn't count. Not doing that. No. Anyway, the line has changed. You see the line on the screen here. Went from Commanders -3 to Commanders -7 with the news that Carr's out. So that's what the odds makers think. 4-point swing, and that's pretty significant. To go in comparison, if the Chiefs were to lose Patrick Mahomes, the line would change probably by about 6 points. That's what a starting quarterback means in the NFL. Darren Rizzi knows how important Derek Carr is to this team, as he talks about him here. 19 seconds.
When he dove, when he made a phenomenal effort on his part to try to keep our drive going and get a first down there. Just an unselfish player diving over the top there. He came down, and I think he tried to put his hand down and brace himself, and I think he just hurt his hand a little bit. So we'll see what they say.
Key words there. What were the key words there? Unselfish player. I'm not saying there aren't other quarterbacks that wouldn't have dove like that. I'm not even saying somebody said earlier that it was a terrible decision. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. It goes to show who he is. Diving and giving his body a 30-something-year-old, 33, 34-year-old quarterback or whatever he is, diving for a first down for 4-18 because that's who he is. Just saying. Karen Brown Lewis says, besides Jordan Love sat behind a good quarterback. Our rookies don't have a good quarterback to learn from. There you go, bashing. You're indirectly bashing Carr now. Is Derek Carr Aaron Rodgers in his prime? Of course not. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre, who threw more interceptions, by the way, in the history of the NFL than anyone else. Anyone talk bad about Brett Favre? I'm sure there are people out there that probably don't like Brett Favre. There are probably Packers fans out there that didn't like Brett Favre when he was playing for him. I don't know, man. We'll get back. Again, we'll probably talk about this again in the rest of the show. But again, I want to talk about Dan Campbell Jr. Darren Rizzi. 100%. Whatever chance he had to win this job, well, you would hope. One would hope that it's gone now. First of all, I don't know if the Saints going to win another game this year without Derek Carr. I think their ceiling now, it was 7-10, and I now think their ceiling is now, and 7-10 is what I predicted. I think I'm going to be off. I think it's going to be more like, I don't know. I think 6-11 is probably they might beat the Raiders, but I kind of don't think so. I'm going to be interested to see where that Raiders line, that line is going to be like when the Saints play the Raiders without Derek Carr. Jason says, why was that play called? I don't think that play was called. I think he just improvised and took off on his own. That's what I think. Dan Campbell's 12-1 this year. It was a play away from the Super Bowl last year. He's horrendous. I don't know how you want to find me other words to use horrendous. Email me, jdarrett@theadvocate.com. I don't feel like going to look for a thesaurus. If you want to find other words for me to use, horrendous, terrible, miserable, whatever words you want to use, he's a horrendous in-game coach with a capital H. His players love him. I don't give a damn. He's horrendous. And when he loses his two outstanding coordinators, let's see how good they are. Even with their talent pool for the Lions, which you got to give their administration credit for this, because they have probably the best offensive line in football. I'm getting off on a tangent here. Randall, once you could be a fan of Lions, like go buy Lions gear. Sign you up. You can sign yourself up for it. You don't need me. You don't need me. Sign yourself up for it. Go buy Lions gear. Be one of those fans who crawls to whatever team's doing good at the time. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I'll say it on the record. You can cut this out. Cut it out. Cut this out. Dan Campbell will never win a championship because he's a horrendous in-game coach, and he will do something that will screw his team up later. There's giving my credit where credit is due. And if you want to play Madden football, if you want your team to play Madden football, then go root for the Detroit Lions, because that's what they do. They played Madden. I don't feel like kicking. I don't want to kick. I'd rather just go for it on my own 48 up by 3 points late in the game, or my own 30. Get out of here. But I really think that's who Darren Rizzi's going to try to be. Before we even get to that, you heard me and my dime talk about his little tete-a-tete with Matthew Hayball. Again, this is coming from me. I mean, I got fired up at you. Of course, this is the Dattitude Podcast. I'm not running the New Orleans Saints. But I don't think, I love old school, but grabbing a punter basically just going off on a punter and needing your star running back to come over and calm you down, that doesn't work in today's NFL. It really doesn't. I mean, he talked about it, and he joked about it a little bit, but I don't know, minute and 19 seconds, what did he have to say?
That's what you're calling it, a passionate exchange. Passionate exchange. Well, listen, I'm passionate about everything. And listen, everybody has a job to do. Everybody has a 1/11th to do. You guys that follow our team know that I'm a big accountability guy, and that was a big part of our game plan today, and he wasn't executing the game plan. So I'm gonna say this. His last punt was outstanding, and it really helped us. Actually, I think his last two punts, second to last punt in particular, was really, really good. Pitting them back, didn't get any return yards. That's really what we were trying to do all day. Our first three punts weren't good enough, and so that passionate exchange, I let him know that that's exactly how I felt. So it probably came across a little bit more than that, but me and Matt are fine.
Appeared to be talking to both of y'all during the exchange.
Yeah. Listen, I love AK because AK is a guy that's very, very observant and sees everything. And you guys know that have followed AK for a while. He's a little bit of like a lay in the weeds guy, but he sees everything. He's very, very observant. And, he just was trying to be the peacemaker there. So, and he came back around and said, Riz, man, I never know you'd lose your shit on the punter like that. So, I mean, he was just trying to calm me down, listen, he's a team guy, but that's kind of where we're at.
I mean, Jason Benson says, as far as Rizzy goes, I like his competitiveness. These aren't children. Hold these players accountable. I'm all about holding players accountable. There's no room for error right now. This team has been missing this passion since Sean Payton left. It's what we need. I don't deny for 1 second that this team needs passion. I've talked about it. I mean, seriously, can you find a more passionate host of a podcast that you listen to on a regular basis than me? I doubt it. Maybe. I'm all about I love passion. I think life without passion is basically meaningless. But there's a time and a place for things. Even Sean Payton in the old days when he was young and he would get mad at someone, say something, he'd move on. And I guarantee you when they got behind the scenes, there was way more to it. And that's how you handle something. To go off on a guy like that bad, it just rubbed me the wrong way. Again, and it would take a lot for something to rub me the wrong way along those lines. Jason, you're my boy, Blue. No doubt. I get it. I hear you, man. I hear you. Look, but besides all that, okay, that doesn't even have anything to do in the grand scheme of things why I think Darren Rizzi has disqualified himself as a potential head coach. We've talked about this before. What happens with interim coaches? Unless you're an interim coach of the Chicago Bears, you get an immediate bump. Okay? You get an immediate bump, and you'll play a game or two or even three. You'll have all this emotion, and when the emotion, you can't play off of emotion forever. Okay? When the emotion dies off, and it's just you and your talent and your schemes, that's all you got left. What did the Saints have left when that emotion died off? A loss last week to the Rams and a 14-11 win over the worst team in football. Yep, even worse than the Jacksonville Jaguars. Not just because the Jaguars won yesterday. Giants are worse than the Jaguars. Drew Lock, I don't remember how long they say it's been since someone started off 0 for 8. That's what Drew Lock started yesterday. 0 for 8. This ain't exactly the best defense in the NFL he's playing against. But if you need to block a field goal as time expires or thereabouts to win a football game against the worst team in the league, you ain't a good coach. Motion doesn't help without skill players. We still got Alvin Kamara. Saying. I thought Kendra Miller, and you see the numbers on the screen. If you're not watching, those aren't great numbers, but Kendra Miller picked up some hard yards yesterday. 10 carries, 32 yards, and a touchdown. Not great by any means. Even with me with my Shaw math can tell you that that's 3.2 yards a carry. But he picked up the tough yards. Those are basically the same numbers that Taysom Hill had last week in maybe his career finale. Jason says you can't say he ain't trying. No, he's given more than his all. God love him. Given more than his all. There's no question about that. And look, winning's fun, but we'll hear what he says about winning. In fact, this is the last clip I have on Rizzi. Minute and 22 seconds, and we'll come back and finish up with him.
Really, those two long drives are the game, right? I mean, when it comes down to it, we get pinned back there on a great punt by Jamie for the Giants, and then he did a great job punting the ball today. We really they had all the field position in their favor in the first half. We obviously faked the punt near midfield, missed it by half yard, so they had good field position there. And so they did a really good job. And so when we got pinned back and we went on the long touchdown drive, man, that was a big deal. We talked all week about we have not been good coming out of halftime in the third quarter. Our first couple of drives, our first drive we had to pump it. Then that second drive we go down the field again, chew up a lot of clock, have another scoring drive. And so really, although it may not have been the whole picture might not have been super pretty today, offensively, those two drives essentially were the ones that mattered the most. And so kudos to them. We've got to do a better job of finishing games. We get the ball back there at the end. We don't get a first down. We come up on third and short. We don't get the first. We got a punt, and we gave it back to them. You get the ball back, and I think we had two situations today where we got the ball back with a chance to kind of end the game, and we didn't do that. So that's where we got to be better. But our defense clearly in the first half was much better than our offense and special teams, and held them to 3 points, and that's why we were in good position. So,
but the best thing you could say about your team against the worst team in the NFL is that you had 2 really nice sustained drives. Well, big whoop. Big deal. Couldn't get anything. I mean, they had a really tough time. I know I talk about what I did yesterday and what game I watched, and I was more interested I'm not joking. I was more interested in the Red Zone channel than I was on the Saints. At halftime, I told this to Gabe. I'll be completely transparent and clear. At halftime, I switched. I put the Saints on the little TV, and I put the Red Zone channel on the big TV. I was more interested in what was going on in the NFL. Now, I still watched what was going on with the Saints. I still paid attention. But, yeah, I probably missed a play or two here or there. Corey, I mean, we've been disagreeing this whole show, but I agree with you on this one. We're saying a lot about Rizzi. What about Kubiak not being able to move the ball against the Giants defense? Kubiak started off smoking hot, and now he's predictable and conservative. I've been saying that. I thought he came out with I think Clint Kubiak had some great ideas to start the season, as he's probably been thinking about all summer long. And when he used them all up, it's like, you go hang out at a friend's house and you go buy the best fireworks and you shoot them all off at 8:30, and then you got nothing to shoot later. Meanwhile, the guy down the street is having a show and making you look silly. Well, Kubiak shot all his fireworks early in the season. Jason asked the same question. Corey says you were at MetLife and you wishing you're watching a different game. I mean, Rob says, do I think either backup quarterback is part of a rebuild? Do I think it depends on who that new head coach is? No, I've said this. I don't think that. Why would you keep either one of these guys as a backup quarterback if they're not the future? I mean, backup quarterbacks are a dime a dozen, in my opinion. So, no, I don't. I mean, it'll all depend on who the next coach is. And Kyle Sherman says smoke bombs always got. It's always got left. He might have some twinklers. All those things. You know what I'm talking about. Jason says he loves some of the play designs, but yeah. I mean, it is what it is. All right, look, we're gonna finish the last 7 to 8 minutes of the show. We're gonna come back and finish Saints, but I do want to talk about college football playoffs real quick. And get Gabe's thoughts on, because I have some thoughts. I've kind of shared them with you already. But we are going to finish the show with Saints. But first, we told you earlier we're letting you know more about how Evangeline Securities can help you figure out what your family run or privately held business might be worth, whether it's time to sell. Well, how do they do it, you might ask? After their complimentary evaluation of your company, and if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanians Nick Braden, Ron Hemelt, and the folks at Evangeline will begin an extensive auction process from established private equity funds from around the world. And they will maximize the return process for the founder and his or her family. Don't need a flip card. Don't need an analytics sheet. Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area. I mean that. And none with their dedication and success. They have offices on Poydras Street and in Lafayette. They are fully licensed and ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick and Ron about what's really important. It's not Darren Rizzi or our debate on who the backup quarterback should be. What's really important? The rest of your life. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. All right, again, I'm going to get into the college football playoff for about 7 or 8 minutes, and then we're going to finish up with Saints talk again. If you want to comment about that, feel free. If you got some more Saints comments, feel free to put them in the queue. We'll talk about them when we come back. But Gabe Henderson, welcome this Monday morning. Mondays with Gabe. And, I was going to go through this whole thing of, if you're watching the show and you see my graphic on the screen, I was going to show, do a little bit at a time. And so, but my bracket, I didn't even do one because it ended up being basically the same as the real bracket. So I just showed the real bracket in my spot. I might have made a few little cosmetic changes here and there. But then when I put your bracket together, it's almost the same as well. So I think you and I both are in agreement that the committee finally got one right.
Yeah, I was absolutely thrilled to see SMU get in over Alabama. I think all of the cries that Alabama deserved to get in are kind of crazy, as I talked about last week. And one thing that I'm getting really sick of with Alabama fans is, have you seen the response from the Alabama fans? Have you seen what their solution to all of this is? Their solution is, well, I guess we'll just schedule cupcakes non-conference.
You already do that. You have the cupcakeiest schedule in the SEC.
Do you get any more cupcake than Mercer?
Yeah, exactly. They don't play anybody when they're
USF.
Like who are you going to change Mercer with? You're going to change them with, like, I don't know, Idaho State or something?
Villanova.
There you go.
Villanova doesn't even have a football team anymore.
Like, who's the worst team in South Dakota's division or conference? I don't know either.
I have no idea. Hold on. Well, let's find out.
The worst team is in the Big Sky. Maybe Alabama should do them. Okay.
The worst team in the Big Sky was Northern Colorado, 1-11 this year.
That's who Alabama should schedule next year.
They played one FBS team. Colorado State beat them 38-17.
All right. Well, so anyway, look, we had this argument a couple years ago about whether Alabama or TCU should be in the playoff. You thought it should be TCU. I thought it should be Alabama. And I made the point. My point then was, and still is, that I think you should take the best teams. Well, I'm seeing people type in, who in their right minds wouldn't think Alabama is better than SMU? I raise my hand. I do. I think SMU is better than Alabama.
Yep.
You lost to Vanderbilt in Oklahoma. I mean,
no. Hold on. I'll stop you there. They didn't lose to Oklahoma, Jim. They got boat raced by Oklahoma, 24-3.
Routed.
It's not a losing. That they got boat raced. They got outclassed. They didn't deserve to be on the same field as Oklahoma.
No, and
day.
look,
and that's horrible.
And what? Look, I'm an SEC guy, but what says to anyone that the SEC quote unquote deserves 4 teams out of 12? They don't deserve. It just goes. It's a year by year basis, a case by case basis, and I don't think there were 3 teams in the SEC, honestly, that deserved it. And I mean, I think Tennessee's going to go to Ohio State and probably get shellacked. I don't think Tennessee's that good, to be honest. I mean,
I don't think either of those teams is very good.
Maybe you're right. I don't know. To me, they're just, look. You and I have talked about this. I know you're not a huge 12 team playoff fan. You could make an argument that there are only 4 teams that deserve it, but would you really have a 14 playoff with Oregon, Arizona State, Boise State, and Georgia? No. Thank God we had the 12, because I think it would be ridiculous if that was your 14 playoff this year. But anyway, I don't know. So
yeah, I mean, it's I don't love the 12 team system, but I think for the first time in a long time they've got it right.
Yeah,
and just some early observations looking at this bracket. This played out exactly how I thought it would for Penn State.
Yeah.
I think Penn State, they host a team from Texas,
right,
in the first round.
They have absolutely put Penn State in a position. They clearly, yes. This is the one problem I have. And if I would have made any changes, I might have done what you did, because I do not like the fact that they basically tried to clear a path for Penn State to make it to where they'll play Georgia or Notre Dame or whatever. They want Penn State, Notre Dame, or Penn State, Georgia. And they've clearly made that pass. I hope Boise State or SMU kicks their tails, because I hate this, that the NCAA has done this. So
I mean,
I would have rather done what you did.
My rankings weren't about path. My rankings were I was ranking who I believe are the top 12 teams in that
I know you did,
order.
but I first of all, I hate the rankings, period. I would rather them tell me, here's our top 4 teams, because this is what they're doing. I'm not dumb. Okay, this is what they're doing. They're not ranking teams 1 through 12. You're full of crap if you believe they're really ranking teams 1 through 12. They're ranking 1 through 4 because they have to make certain teams at certain spots, and then they're making matchups that they want to see either for the first round or later on. So anyone that doesn't think they're trying to set up a way for, they want this great Ohio State Oregon matchup, which is what they want. Anyway. They're setting it up. They want Penn State to go through. So that's how they made this.
I don't know what they would have in favor of Penn State per se. The one thing that I do think is with giving the 4, if you're going for ratings, then you do what I did and you throw Texas there and you give Texas the easy path so you can get Georgia
Texas,
again.
to me, deserve the easy path. That's not an easy path anyway.
No, they didn't deserve it over Penn State, in my opinion.
I don't think Boise State deserves to be 3. And
Well, no, but here's the thing: is with the first 4 seeds, if you get rid of that automatic bid, then you are essentially acknowledging that the conference championship games do not matter, and that is the last thing that they want to do.
We can talk about this.
That's the last thing they want to do, and I think they proved that by keeping SMU in. They showed that conference championships do matter.
Well, you're saying that, but if Clemson would have lost, Clemson was out.
Yes, the only reason Clemson is in is because they're a conference champion.
Correct. So I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the conference championship matters.
With an automatic bid, but I just don't like the way you're seeding Arizona State 4th because they won a conference championship. I mean,
they were the fourth highest rated conference champion.
They need to change that, in my opinion. I don't mind I'm all about an automatic bid, but they don't do that in basketball. You don't get seeded second. I mean, if you win the ACC, you're probably gonna be a top seed anyway.
No, but conference championships in basketball, the tournaments do matter, and they've shown that over the recent years. I mean, we've seen SEC champions jump from 4 seeds to a 2 seed on the final day because they
we've
win
also
the SEC
seen that
title.
recently that SEC champions are like 5 seeds. That's happened not that long ago.
I know.
Go back and look.
But we've also seen them jump as well. So I don't know. I mean, I understand not liking it. I just don't know.
There's no way Arizona State's the 4th best team in the country. Sorry.
No, I don't think they're saying that.
Well, they should.
The bracket is different from the rankings. That's the thing. They're not number 4 in the country.
No, but that's what
they are the number 4 seed.
That's my point. My entire point is that they should change this. I don't care that they automatically get in. Fine. I think they should automatically get in. But don't seed them 4th just because you've made this structure. Don't make that structure.
Well, I think they've by winning a conference championship, they've earned a bye.
I don't necessarily think they've earned. The Big 12 is horrendous.
So, okay, if you were to give 4 teams a bye, who would you give a bye to?
If I were going to make a top 4, if I were just going to do the top 4,
4,
there's no question in my mind Oregon and Georgia deserve byes. Okay. So if I were going through and I were just saying, I'd probably give Boise State a bye because I was a little low on them. And then when I went back and actually looked through it, now I don't like that they played Wyoming close, but they still won the game. And then they played Nevada close. Nevada's, I don't like that. Yeah. That bothered me. However, the fact that you only lost to Oregon and it was a close game, I'm fine with Boise State being in the top 4, but there's no way that you can tell me that either Texas or Penn State isn't better. The second best team in the SEC, in my opinion, especially at Texas, who's basically been number 1 in the SEC all year long and just played a crappy SEC championship game and still had a chance to do something there at the end. If Texas plays Arizona State, which they probably will, I don't know. The line's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 10.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give the 8 to 10. So I would rather, you're asking me who I think is better. I think that Texas is better than
No. I'm not asking you who you think is better. I'm saying who would you give the seed to? Here's the one thing that I would say.
I'd rather see Notre Dame there, honestly.
I wouldn't give Texas the 4 seed over Arizona State. Say what you will about the Big 12. Arizona State has a better resume than Texas. Texas does not have a real quality win on their schedule.
I don't.
Well, other than A&M. They went to A&M and won. That was a quality win. Other than that, they have skated by playing the easiest.
I don't know I'm asking you this because I don't know the answer to this.
Okay.
Who is Arizona State beat that's any good?
I mean, they absolutely shellacked Iowa State over the weekend.
Who cares? They're terrible.
Well, we haven't seen Texas do that to a team this year, really. A quality opponent. Texas struggled with Arkansas. Texas struggled with Texas A&M.
Arizona State play in non-conference games. I don't know. And again, I don't know the answer.
I can go tell you.
So, I mean, my point is, I don't think even you really think that Arizona State is one of the best 4 teams in the country. You don't think that?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying comparing resumes. Arizona State has a better resume than Texas. I don't think they're better. Texas, I've said I don't know if I said it last week on the show. If I were to pick a national champion right now out of this field, I would go with Texas. I think Texas is set up to be the best
My
team.
whole point is I just don't think that I don't like tie-ins to seeds because you won a conference championship.
Arizona State's non-conference was Wyoming, Mississippi State, Texas State.
That's horrendous.
That's not too bad.
Are you kidding me?
No, I mean you got to think it was scheduled a few years ago, huh?
I'm not blaming. I'm not saying they never knew this was coming. I'm not.
No, they scheduled an SEC team.
Well, I'm talking Mississippi State. Come on, man.
Come on, when they schedule
Tulane
it,
would beat Mississippi State by double digits.
Yeah, but when they didn't schedule it at the beginning of the year, and they didn't pick the weakest SEC team and say, I want that one.
No. You're missing my point. I'm not blaming them for it.
At least they have the cojones to schedule an SEC team non-conference.
You're talking about resumes. I can't give them any kind of resume thumbs up for what.
No, but they have multiple top 25 wins. They beat Kansas State in Kansas State. They've beaten BYU. They went into Arizona in a rivalry game and beat them by 42 points.
BYU is actually a better win than
they beat Texas State, who fell off. Their loss to Texas Tech.
Whoever they play after their bye, they're going to lose. Just saying.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying they have a better resume than Texas. That's the one knock on Texas, is that they got the easiest SEC schedule imaginable, other than Georgia, and they lost to Georgia twice.
LSU's SEC schedule was definitely easier than Texas.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Clearly was.
It wasn't.
There's no question about it. I mean,
LSU played Ole Miss and Alabama
at home. Big deal.
Texas played Texas A&M and Georgia.
I mean, okay, Georgia's way better than anybody.
Yeah, and they lost to Georgia.
I'm just saying. You're talking about.
So name other than A&M. Name a quality win that Texas had.
You're talking about the schedule. You didn't say that before. You said their schedule.
I did. I said resume.
You said their schedule. Anyway, all right. Look, we got to get rolling because we're way too deep in this. But I do want. Who is your Final Four? These brackets, and you can look at the left side of the bracket now because obviously, the real brackets. Who's your Final Four? Who you think is going to make it out of here, and what are we going to see in the big semifinals games, which I think are the weekend after New Year's, so like the 8th or the 10th, something like that.
I like Oregon, Texas, Penn State, Georgia. I'll tell you, for any bettors out there, some good values out there. I've got a piece coming out on Sportsbook Review here in a little bit with these picks. There at FanDuel, you can parlay semifinal appearances. I think Penn State and Georgia, you can get them at plus money. And but I'll tell you, the best long shot value on the board is Clemson. At Clemson is plus 6,000 to win a title. I'm just saying, if you're going for a long shot, if you're going for a long shot, 60 to 1 for one of the two coaches in this playoff and in the country to have national title experience, and all they would have to do is beat a Texas team. All they would have to do is beat a Texas team, because I think we both agree they would beat Arizona State.
Yeah, but they're not 60 to 1 to make the semifinals.
No, they're not. But I mean, I don't trust any of the three teams.
They ain't beating Oregon. Just saying. And they
I don't think Oregon's as good as everyone thinks they are.
All right. Okay. Well, I do. And
I think the odds actually reflect that, because Texas and Georgia are favored
earlier. I didn't about a month ago. But I've changed my mind.
Their offense is just inefficient, and that'll kill you in the playoff.
We'll see.
We will. I mean, I think
against Penn State.
Do what?
They scored 40-something points against Penn State. Who's in the playoffs?
I know. That's the first time we've seen their offense look really good.
Look, I've been against, or not against, but I've had some. I guess I wasn't buying into Oregon, but I'm kind of buying in now.
Hey, you can go look. You can go look at NOLA.com. I threw it preseason. I had Oregon as my best Big Ten value.
Answer this question, because I know a lot of people are not bettors on this show, and I know this is a legit question. Charles, if you bet $10 on Clemson, you would win 6,000. No,
600.
You win 600. So if you bet $10 on Clemson, so when we say like somebody is plus 6,000, well, that's always based off of a $100 bet. Every number that we talk about here, plus or minus or whatever, is based off of a $100 bet. Okay, so if we say plus 200, It means it's basically 2 to 1.
2 to 1.
If you bet $100, you'd get $200 back. If it's something's plus 1,200, you bet $100, you get $1,200 back, and all the way down to if you bet $1, you get $12 back. So that's what we're talking about.
I just think, that's
right,
my take with Clemson. Texas.
Okay.
I'm rolling with Texas. I really liked what I saw from them against Georgia. They didn't play a particularly great game, but they played Georgia tougher than they did last time. And, I was talking to my friend about it the other day. I really think where Texas has the advantage on teams like Oregon is in the trenches. I don't know if you've looked and watched much Texas this year. Their defensive line is an NFL defensive line.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
It's an NFL defensive line, and I think that's where they really benefit.
See, this is why you and I will disagree for days on end about the stupid resume argument. F a resume. Because I agree with you that Texas might be the most talented team. I don't care about a resume. I care about an eye test. And if I think a team's better, that's how I'm going to rank them. I'm just saying,
Texas hasn't been particularly impressive on the eye test.
I'm just saying, and maybe they have, maybe they aren't. But you're picking them to win the national championship. So
I am, because I think they have the most. Charles, the best betting app is wherever you get the best odds.
Correct. And look, I've said this before, and we've talked about this when you said the old Bayou Bet Show. It's a good betting app to bet. I would say this, and I mean this sincerely. If you haven't bet yet, okay, my suggestion is go to bet.nola.com. Okay, I'm not just promoting it because it's my employer. Okay, we consistently run specials on bet.nola.com that we aggregate from other places, and they will give you a deal to sign up with them. And you might get like $200 in free money if you deposit like $5. Okay.
That's usually DraftKings welcome offer, yeah.
So, but whatever, I'm just throwing this out there. And then I would tell you to get 3 or 4 apps, okay? And why? Not just because you're going to get 4 deals. You're not going to get free money from 4 different places. Not just because of that, but because when you're betting, and I do this all the time. I only use 3 right now, but I go through, if there's something I want to bet on, like let's just say I was looking last night for a specific team and their odds. I went to all 3 books and their odds were different at every place. So I'm going to bet $10 on whoever has the best odds. Okay. So if I'm looking for something and it's 25 to 1 one place, 30 to 1 one place, and 40 to 1 at another, which you will see that dramatic of a difference, then yes.
Like just to use as an example with my Texas pick. If I'm betting Texas right now, I'm betting them at Bet365. Every major book in the U.S. has them at plus 350. I think FanDuel has plus 380, but you're getting them at Bet365 at plus 450.
Yeah.
So,
and then your last question is, do they charge you your credit card? Well, they only charge you if you go and put a deposit in.
Yep.
They don't charge you at any other time. So what I have is I actually have my bank account on I use PayPal because I trust PayPal. This is me personally. This is what I do. So I put in my PayPal account, and I don't make a lot of deposits, but if they bring money, if I want to get money out, they will also issue money back to your PayPal account or your bank account or whatever you use. They will put the money back in when you ask for it. And I have found these apps to be, and this is my own experience, to be trustworthy. They have not taken any money from me. They have not shared any of my information. They have given me money when I've ever asked for it. I've gotten it within 2 to 3 days. Every single app that I've asked for money back from, I have found them all to be very fair and whatever. So everyone that I've used. So that's what I do. Anyway, real quick, Randall, to answer your question, who did the best with the NFL picks this weekend? Definitely not you. You and I were both bad. According to Gabe, you were winless.
I only had 2 of Randall's picks recorded.
Okay, well, I was win. I've announced this. I'm transparent as all hell. My first 0-5 week ever. Like, I'm talking about 10 years of doing NFL picks column. Let's see, we started this show in 2021. So 4 seasons of this show and the Bayou Bet Show. First time ever I went 0-5. It was a bad week. All right. Anyway, you got
red hot 2-0 this week from me.
Yeah, you did. You have been excellent. All right, I'm going to give you mine real quick. I like Texas, but I'm telling you, I know this is going to sound crazy to people. We come back and whatever. I think SMU is going to beat Penn State. I really do. I liked what I saw out of them. I know that I shouldn't still be backing them after they lost to Clemson, but they got down and they fought back. And the fact that they clawed their way back into that game and had a legit chance to send it into overtime. Clemson kicks the long field goal. What a football game that was, by the way. There's just something about SMU that has gotten me super intrigued. And so I put a few bucks on SMU. I'm going to stick with them. I think this is actually a decent bracket for them because there's no question in my mind the top half of this bracket is way tougher than the bottom half of the bracket. So I give them a chance to come out of this thing because I don't think Georgia – look, I don't even know who's quarterbacking for Georgia because Carson Beck, is he going to be able to come back? I have no idea.
I think he has a UCL issue, so I don't think so. I wouldn't imagine so,
I
but I'm not a doctor.
I think Notre Dame's going to end up coming out of that bottom half of those three. I think Notre Dame's the best of the three. It wouldn't surprise me at all if it's Notre Dame and SMU. Penn State will screw it up. I'm not a big James Franklin fan. So at the top, I think it's Oregon and Texas. I'm going to take Oregon hesitantly, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if Texas won. So I'm going to go Oregon. I'm going to say Oregon, Notre Dame, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's Oregon and SMU. That would be so much fun. And then I can do some hedging if that's the case. So anyway.
Interesting. You see, I mean, you know me, I talked about it last week before this SMU game. I like SMU a lot. I really do. I think they're a good team. James Franklin is 59-11 at home over the last 9 years. Penn State has a huge home field advantage in December. SMU, I just don't know if they're ready for that cross-country travel. Plus, I don't know if it's going to snow. I don't know what the conditions are, but if it snows, it's a Penn State whiteout. I'm rolling with Penn State. I know UBN is gonna shun me over that.
More about this going forward for sure. And then next week we're gonna have a lot of fun. Next we're gonna have a show. I got a programming note for you on a little bit. There's no Friday show this week. I'll tell you why. So I'm gonna probably merge some shows together. I'm going to have to figure out exactly how that's going to work. So we are going to merge some shows together this week with me not being able to go Friday. But next week, a week from Thursday will be a whole lot of fun because we will be doing a little, first round preview. That'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. All right, Gabe, we will talk to you on Friday.
Sounds good.
Gabe Henderson, everybody. And look, we're having fun with the brackets. It will be a lot of fun going forward. And I guarantee you, I ain't going 0-5 in this, or I guess I could only go 0-4 because it's only 4 games to start. But I got the 0-5 out in my system. It is what it is. All right. Final few minutes of the show here. Going to go back to the Saints very briefly. Again, if you got something to say, you got about 3 or 4 minutes to do so because I've already run super long. I knew today would be a long show. Look, Saints played Washington this weekend. I don't give spoiler, I don't like to give spoiler alerts. I got some research to do, but we know this. Before Derek Carr got hurt, Saints just don't fare well against quarterbacks that can run the football. They just don't. They never have. I say never. I'm talking about in the recent history. So I don't know what to expect from this crowd in the Dome on Sunday. I really don't. I'll be in there. I'm very interested to see. Is it going to be a pro Jaden Daniels crowd? Is it going to be what happens if the Saints stink it up early? What are they going to do? What are the fans? How are they going to react? Are they going to be, is the Dome going to be half full of Jaden Daniels fans and half Saints fans? I mean, Adam says we'll probably be winless without Carr. I just don't. I mean, maybe they beat the Raiders. Maybe. Again, I don't even know what the line's going to be on that game. It's not out right now. But if I had to set a line on Raiders, Saints without Derek Carr, the Saints are probably a slight favorite because they don't have Gardner Minshew either. But it's going to be super close. Rob says he regrets not betting Commanders -3. I hear you. Terrence says, I really like Rizzy and wish him well. But yesterday was absolutely pitiful, beyond pitiful. I've told you what I think. I think he disqualified himself. Oh, Gabe's right. Raiders, because Aiden O'Connell got hurt too. Going to have Desmond Ridder as their quarterback. So the Saints will probably be favored. Although the Saints have had trouble with Desmond Ridder in the past. Another quarterback that can move. I mean, the Saints have seen Desmond Ridder before. Well, they have 3 or 4 games against Desmond Ridder. They have a few. I don't know. But regretting not betting the Commanders -3. I should bet stuff ahead of time like that. I don't. But yeah, I mean, even with Derek Carr, I mean, that was the easy one, right? I don't know. Lot to go on, a lot to talk about Wednesday. I have not talked to him about this yet. I'm going to try to move Larry to Wednesday since we don't have a Friday show. Program and note. You're probably wondering, well, he just took some shows off. Well, I was given the opportunity to do play-by-play for the Archbishop Shaw Eagles in the Division II state championship game on Friday, and it happens to be at noon. So I've actually thought about doing the show an hour early and doing it from the Dome, but I think the logistics would be too hard of it. Sean wants to know if I'm sticking with my Saints end of season record of 7-10. I mean, I'm not one of the, I don't like to change, so I'm not going to change it. I'm just going to be wrong. They're not going to win 7 games. You tell me what 2 games they're going to win. Even with Carr, I think winning 2 games, you could say they'd probably beat the Raiders and maybe the Bucks, and they'd win 7 games. Desmond Ridder, 1-2 all time against Saints. Maybe we'll look up his stats and see what he does. Not this week. Who cares? So anyway, I got a chance to call a state championship game after calling the semifinals last weekend. Shaw, just another incredible performance. Go Shaw Eagles. Rich says, I obviously hate being wrong more than changing. I don't think it's cool to change. I mean, if it's like early in the season, I told y'all before when the Saints won the first 2 games and everybody was saying the Saints going to win 10, 11, 12 games and stuff like that. I'm transparent. I'm going to tell you the way that I think it is. And I wasn't going to, I told you if the Saints won that game against Philly and started 3-0, I would probably have to think about changing then. But I'm not going to change at the end of a season once I made a prediction. Why would I change? I mean, my predictions are on the record. I'm not going to lie to you. Charles is heading out. See you Wednesday. Good show again. Thank you. It is insane to think that Desmond Ridder is a bear. Desmond Ridder, and he's not even he's the 3rd string quarterback for the Raiders. Raiders got some bad quarterbacks. So if your 3rd string quarterback is Desmond Ridder and he's better than either of your backups, which he is, that's saying a whole lot. So anyway, we'll see if Larry can come on Wednesday instead of Friday. If he can, it'll probably just be us again. We'll see. And then Thursday is going to be it's not going to be the regular betting show again because we don't have a show on Friday. So I don't know. How much do we need to preview Commanders and Saints? We'll see how the rest of the week works out. But again, program and no show on Friday. We'll have Wednesday and Thursday, and then we'll be back here for Mano Monday next week. And as we get closer to Christmas, we'll tell you what our Christmas schedules are going to look like. But probably going to be pretty much what we're doing now, except no Wednesday show, obviously, Christmas and New Year's week, because that's the day that Christmas and New Year's fall on, is a Wednesday. We'll see how that goes going forward. But a reminder, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our Dattitude YouTube page. I'm sure our friend from early in the show, in case you missed it, he's probably not subscribing to our Dattitude YouTube page. The car hater, yeah, he probably don't like me very much. He disappeared. Pissed off another one. It is what it is. Every Monday through Friday, except this Friday, obviously. Every Monday through Friday, except Tuesday, live at 11 a.m. Central Time. You can always find us after the fact. You click the little bell for notifications, and you will get notified when we go on the air live. You also have access to all of our shorts. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to listen to the audio-only version in the car, and your wife can ask you, who is that crazy man talking? Randall says, great show. Thank you. Nick's glad the Saints game is indoors. It is supposed to be cold later. Adam Varner, last question of the day. Do I personally think Haener starts? No. This team doesn't do anything right. So I think it'll be Spencer Rattler, but I don't know for sure. That's my question. Terrence says his wife already knows. But if you want to listen after the fact to the audio-only podcast, put it in the car and have your wife look at you like this. Who the hell is that guy? And why do you listen to him? You can find us on Apple, Spotify, and many more. And you can also always find a replay of the show at NOLA.com/sports. Check out our stuff at bet.NOLA.com. Also, check out our friends who know what they're talking about. And when it comes to the Saints, they got all the information, and they got it first. NOLA.com/Saints. You want to check that out? We will see you on Friday. Everyone have a great week. Stay dry some kind of way, and then you're going to have to bundle up again. We will see you on Wednesday. Take it easy, my friends.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.